the IP conflicts, why can't they just come up with a deal where, you know, Chinese companies can't just blatantly take advantage of American companies, fix a degree of the trade deficit, and move on? I feel like that's what most people probably fucking want in China. That's probably what they want here in the U.S. So, like, what is this? Like, how is this even happening when the answer to this is so simple? Just test sometimes. Yes, exactly. It's ego on both sides. Well, it's frustrating. It is, because if they don't cheat, they'll literally go under. Their entire economy is based on cheap exports now. Well, maybe it is, but either way, I mean, there has to be some level of concession because, I mean, like, really, I mean, you just look at it. I mean, even if you're China, you have to see how Americans coming into your economy and then having their products stolen and then undersold and undercut by these stolen products. You have to see how this would be a reason why Americans wouldn't want to do business there, right? I mean, you don't have, like, even if you love China, you think China is the greatest country in the world, you have to be able to see this, right? And understand that. So they don't give a fuck. No, they cannot give a fuck. But, like, at a certain point, you have to acknowledge, like, well, you know, maybe it makes sense why they're mad. So why are Americans doing business there? Honestly, I think that there are a lot of reasons. I mean, some of them do business there because they think it's an overall net positive, even though some of them think it probably won't happen to them. Some of them are not able to do business over there because of that happening. So there's a lot of reasons, honestly. It's cheap. Yeah, and also it's cheap. That's another really big reason. Saving face and pride is greater than logic. Well, I don't think that's going to happen forever.
Is that Beijing can inflict pain on the American economy, even if it's only symbolic. For example, we've heard that Beijing plans to now reduce the already rather small number of American films that are imported into China every year. So there aren't many American films going into China every year.
John Cena on Suicide Watch.
So it is a hugely lucrative market for those that do get in. However, you know, this is, of course, something that really strikes at the heart of American culture, the American economy, saying that, you know, Beijing saying...
Yeah, I think this is really bad, by the way. Like, I think that, like, there's a degree of unreasonability here. And, like, maybe this is just me speaking as an American, but I do think that China are the ones that are taking advantage of the situation. When, you know, like, certain laws aren't followed, you're not even able to, like, go to arbitration with Chinese companies, etc. This seems very one-sided. And I just find it to be disappointing, right? Because, like, we have a good thing, just make it a little bit more fair and everybody's going to be happy. Why can't you do this? It doesn't make sense to me.
They're going to target industries like Hollywood and the film industry. Now, we have also heard from Xi Jinping today. He's finally spoken publicly about this US-China trade war. He said that there are no winners in a tariff war. He was meeting actually...
He's right. I mean, and in the short term, he's definitely right. I mean, there's a lot of businesses that are American and Chinese businesses that are losing out over this because they can't come to a fair, equitable deal. It's really disappointing that this has happened. It sucks. I think there's a lot of people that have gotten fucked over by this massively. And, like, in my opinion, I think it's mainly China's fault, but, like, obviously Trump is extreme too about it. So yeah, Trump's a fucking dumbass.
Civilian research.
But, like, why does the responsibility fall on Trump when China are the ones who are the aggressors? China are the ones that are not following copyright. China are the ones that are allowing, you know, these markets to be flooded with, like, cheap knockoffs, etc. Why is it on Trump in order to capitulate to this group of people that is engaging in multiple unethical practices? It's bullshit. It's total bullshit. Yeah, that's it.
Yes, Commander.
That's how I feel about it, right? Like, if Biden was the same way, I'd be saying the same thing about Biden. I feel like a lot of people are against this because it's Trump. But again, like, if you go back and you listen to, like, a lot of these, like, Democratic senators talk about this from, like, years ago, they were saying the exact same things that Trump was saying.
with the Spanish Prime Minister and called on China and the EU to jointly oppose unilateral bullying, of course referencing Donald Trump's tariff rate.
Someone says, why is it on Trump? Because he's the fucking president. He's the one pushing the shit, dude. That's why. No, you're not understanding what I'm saying. Is that why is it on Trump to de-escalate tensions whenever the tensions were created by unethical behavior by China? If China is the one that is engaging in unethical business practices on a consistent basis, then why isn't it on them to bear the responsibility of this retaliation? Like if you constantly over and over cheat, fucking steal people's shit, etc. I mean, why is it on the other person to come to the table when you're the one doing that? Because the response isn't working? I don't know if it's working or not. I mean, I think that it will take time. It will definitely take time. And also, by the way, keep in mind, the previous response wasn't working for 30 years. This has been a problem my whole life. Like, my whole life, I've heard about China, you know, like, stealing people's shit and then not listening to, like, our laws, violating trade rules, etc. I've been hearing this forever. So, like, you want to say it's not working after it's been happening for, like, less than 2 weeks. Yeah, it's been about 2 weeks or so. And okay, that's fine. But let's try to change something now that it hasn't worked for, you know, let's change the other thing that hasn't worked forever. If the tariffs aren't working, we find another way. Nobody forced Trump to be the guy to step up. He took this on himself. I did. I mean, I would want Trump to solve this. I think a lot of people do. And also, people forced Trump. They did force him. By voting for him, they forced him. He ran on this platform and he said, I'm going to do this. People voted for it. I don't even understand. And also, like, again, I feel like so much of this criticism is centered more reasonably. It kind of feels like Trump put China in a position to do nothing and win. How is China doing nothing and winning? A massive amount of their economy is tied to the United States. If China isn't exporting these products to the United States, it can't go and export them to another country at the same ratio that it can at the United States. Now, they can export some countries to other, or sorry, some products to other countries. Like apparently they have a deal with like Spain apparently going on now, right? That's what's happening. And so they will try to make up the difference. But America is like 5% of the world's population, and it's 1/3 or something like that, or 20%, I forgot which one, of the entire like global imports. Like we have the biggest economy in the world. Our economy is like 1/4 of the entire world. So to think that like to lose that, do you really think that's like doing nothing and winning? That's doing nothing and losing, and they're not doing nothing. Let me reword. As long as China holds out, they'll come out ahead. I'd love to be proven wrong. How are they going to, like, I don't see anybody. This is the problem. I don't see anybody coming out ahead with this. I don't think that it's good for America. Now, I think Trump should continue doing this, by the way. I think he should. The reason why is that the previous agreement was not in our best interest. And so the argument that, well, the previous agreement where you're being disrespected, treated unfairly, and not being given an equal, like, shake on things, that one is slightly better than this worse agreement. I think that if somebody is trying to force you into a bad deal that's bad for you, you should never try to take the lesser of two evils, because at that point you're selling out the country. So yeah, no, then stop the tariffs. Yeah, I think that they need to come to an agreement that lasts, that like provides certain protections. Who made and enforces copyright? Well, America does. But if China wants to do business with America, then there have to be concessions made. That's it. And if they're not willing to make those concessions, then I think that we should keep the tariffs. So that's the way I see it. And also, like, by the way, yeah, the seller loses. Yeah, China is, we mainly import from China, right? China doesn't mainly import from us. And so basically what I'm saying is that, maybe I said the second part wrong, but basically, like, China's economy relies on them sending us a bunch of cheap bullshit, right? A huge amount of their economy is built off of them sending us Happy Meal toys, fucking forks, just random knickknacks, doodads, and bullshit. And by the way, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I totally respect China. I just think they're engaging in something that's unfair. But the fact is that that's a huge part of their economy. And if they don't have that, that's massively detrimental to them. And they're the ones that are stuck holding all of this stuff. I think it would probably be a lot easier for us to find somebody else to make new forks than for China to find somebody else to buy forks at the same rate, at the same prices, at the same level that the United States of America does. I think that's a lot harder than for us to find another place to buy forks. That's what I think.
Regime saying that going against the world will only lead to isolation. Now, some of the most recent comments we've heard from Donald Trump do indicate that he still wants to talk to Xi Jinping. He's talked repeatedly about...
Yeah, they have to work this out, man. I think they will, but it's just going to take... It's going to take a little bit more peacocking. That's what I think is going to happen. You're being hypocritical because you're choosing to buy those forks?
Place your bids, you scallywags.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, right? Like, of course. But, like, I'm talking about, like, the government. I'm not looking at it from the perspective of a consumer. I'm looking at it from the perspective of the government.
We have no need for
his friendship with Xi Jinping, about the fact that he has a lot of respect for the Chinese leader. But on the other side, we are not seeing the same kind of rhetoric in return from Beijing. So it doesn't seem like those negotiation talks will be in the works anytime soon.
I think it'll probably take a little bit longer because, you know, like, let's be honest, nobody wants to look bad. I think it's ignorant as fuck. I've seen a lot of graphs that China manufactures a lot of important stuff too, leads the world in many important sectors. The questions is how dependent is it on those goods because it's not so cheap. No, I think that you're absolutely right that it will definitely negatively affect the U.S. if we have trade problems with China. It absolutely will. But I'm saying that when you have an economy that's built on selling something to another person, you are going to bear the majority of the burden. Because it's a lot easier for, you know, let's say, us to find somebody else to make these machines or whatever you're making than it is for them to sell all of these products at the same ratio that they were selling it to the United States. Because, like, let's say they can sell it, like people are using India as an example. India has a national GDP per person of $2,000. They can't go to India and sell this stuff at the same ratio that they can to the United States. They just can't. Like, I'm sorry. I understand what you're saying. Yes, absolutely. And that's also assuming that India isn't going to feel the same way that the U.S. does, and they'll take the same deals. And how many people in India? There's a lot of people in India. There are. Oh, do you see an analogy of video games, man? Well, I don't know what you mean by that, but yeah. Cost of living is cheaper, bro. That's why. If I look at India and I look at the way that they live, the standard of living in India and their purchasing power is dramatically less than the United States. And I'm sure that there are places in India that look really nice and they have the same equivalent standard of living as the United States, but that is the vast minority of India. In the US, like if you compare this, USA average GDP per capita,
commerce upgrade complete.
$89,000. Like, if you think that there is any parity between $2,000 and $89,000, you are out of your fucking mind. I'm sorry, you're completely out of your mind. Like, I would understand if it was like 20,000 versus 25,000, or like even 20,000 versus 30,000. That's not really a big difference because the population difference. But this is like multiples. I mean, like, what is this, like 30 times more, 20 times more? It's huge. So yeah, that's the power of the US dollar. Exactly. And then also because the US dollar is used so often, then you're going to lose money in currency exchange as well. So yes, there's a huge amount that China loses by not being able to trade with the US. Absolutely they do. But it's also true that it is massively detrimental to pretty much everybody that it's happening. And I just hope that they can come to a deal. And do you think Trump will force the world to boycott Chinese goods by punishing anyone who does business with China? Do you think that we should push it this far? Maybe, yeah. It depends.
Our fleet is under attack.
Yeah, so, like, I mean, if we think that China is facilitating and allowing economic espionage, then, yeah, absolutely, we should try to work to destabilize their economy as much as we can, because they're effectively doing that to us. Like, it's, again, like, who's throwing the first stone? Is it the one who's responding to, you know, the theft of their products, or the person who's stealing the products in the first place? It's obvious. Won't that make more enemies? I potentially, yeah.
Comlink active.
But I think that, like, really,
shields are
again,
down,
if the
Commander.
only way that you can be friends with people
the
is for
order.
you to engage in a relationship with them that's detrimental to you and positive for them, then you're not really friends in the first
Civilian
place, are
research
you?
Complete.
Like, I wouldn't
Mining
say you are.
upgrade complete.
I don't think that's a very good way to look at it at all.
Got a job for me?
Like, if the only way that somebody will be friends with you is if you have a monetary relationship with them that is beneficial towards them primarily, that seems a little bit unfair.
The order.
They go into effect today. What do you think about the Trump tariffs?
Doesn't affect me.
Why not?
I'm pro-Trump, but don't affect me.
Well, what do you think about it? Tell me your opinion on how he's going about it. What do you think?
Dominance, baby. Greatest country in the world.
They
Ready for battle.
That's it.
Comlink active.
Oh, man. Yeah, I saw this. I thought this shit was fucking funny, man. Yeah, there you go.
Research complete. Yes, Commander.
They brought Baldy
At
on
once.
again today
Scouts
to,
have found a colonizable
you know, I
planet.
guess today is going to be when he goes to
Right now.
4,000%. You know, he said 1,000%. He said 400%. So now it should probably just be 4,000%.
Joining me now, the man himself,
Yeah.
O'Leary Ventures Chairman Kevin O'Leary. You know, Kevin, you reminded me with that comment, smash heads into the wall. You reminded me of what Xi Jinping said, okay? When he was celebrating the 100-year anniversary of the Chinese Communist Party, he said, anybody who gets in the way of China's reunification with Taiwan is going to get their head smashed to dust.
Yep.
Remember he said that? Is that where you got that?
It was ringing in my mind, Maria, that the rhetoric was
Yeah.
just being raised, and I thought it would be a good comeback. But, you know, at this point, we got to face reality here. China is not just a trade war. We have to figure out a way to finally fix the problems that have existed since 2000 when they joined WTO. They've never
See,
abided.
this is what he's saying, right? This is what a lot of people are saying, is that, like, this didn't start happening, like, last week, right? It's been going on for a while.
By the rules and regulations ever. There's no mechanism by which you can dispute any kind of business issue, including IP theft. And it's a typical situation. I'll make it very simple for everybody to understand. You invest in innovation in the United States, and the product takes off, and as soon as it hits a run rate of 5 million annually, it gets knocked off in China, manufactured.
That seems like, I mean, it seems like an exploit, right? I mean, like, what the fuck?
They're reintroduced into the U.S. market at around 30 to 40% off because they don't have to recuperate any R&D. And sometimes the original innovating company goes bankrupt. I've kind of had enough of that now. I've been watching it. I've never been able to litigate there, and I can't even get access to their financial markets or even sell products there sometimes without having a partner that's 51%.
Yeah, and what he means by that is that in order to do business in China, you have to have a partner that is a company that is a Chinese company.
I want you to be aware of something, Maria, that I think
Yeah, it's a
people
scam.
missed
It's a scam. Yeah,
yesterday.
no, it's 100% scam.
Atkins was
Absolutely.
approved. His nomination went through for head of the SEC. Then Senator Scott issued a letter, made it public yesterday, that he had asked this person to enforce the law about delisting Chinese companies that were not compliant with GAAP. They were given 3 years, then the law was modified to give them 2 years. None of them were compliant. There's billions of dollars trading this
So
morning.
this is a huge factor, right? Because GAAP is how people decide the value of a company and what a company's financials are. Because it's literally the way that you do accounting. That's massive.
That I think Chinese companies that are not compliant, they're going to get delisted. I think this new sheriff at the SEC isn't going to mess around. And I think this is important to continue the pressure on China to come to the table.
Yeah, it's a great point because I asked Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent this very question yesterday. I mean, look, Kevin, we talk about this all the time. We've got all these companies, Chinese companies trading on U.S. exchanges. Some of them have already been sanctioned. Some of them have already been put on certain lists, you know, blacklists or whatever in the U.S., and they're still trading on U.S. exchanges and, enabling or allowing U.S. investors to buy these stocks and, in effect, fund the expansion of our number one adversary. So I'm wondering how far they're going to go. Do we have that Scott Bessent soundbite? Because I went and I asked the Treasury Secretary about that, and to see how tough they could be, because that's an economic lever that they've been afraid, people have been afraid to pull. I don't know about this administration, but most administrations are afraid to pull that lever. China will be very upset. Here's my conversation yesterday with Scott Bessent, on Wednesday, when I asked him this very question. Watch this, Kevin.
Easily done.
How would you assess the Chinese economy right now?
They were in a recession/depression due to a real estate collapse that had a real estate bubble that is deflating that had been going on for years, and the economy was in terrible shape. So again, they're going to go from bad to terrible, and that which is unsustainable will be unsustainable. The other thing that the Chinese should not do is try to devalue their way out of this, because back to our European friends, our Japanese allies.
Smart. Yeah, I think a lot of people respect him.
Our Korean allies, the Vietnamese. If China starts devaluing, then that is a tax on the rest of the world, and everyone will have to keep raising their tariffs to offset the devaluation.
Yeah.
So I would urge them not to do that and to come to the table.
How far are you willing to take this in terms of this soft war with China? We've got Chinese stocks.
I think they're going to go all the way. Honestly, I feel like Trump is going to go all the way with this. Because, again, there's, the Chinese culture of, saving face, etc. people talk about. Well, I feel like Trump is kind of the same way. I don't think he's going to back down with this at all. I voted for this, yeah, and I think also there's a huge contingency of his base that realize that, yeah, this is something that is, basically backing down from this is pretty much agreeing to continue being taken advantage of. I think that's the way that a lot of people see it.
Trading on U.S. exchanges, U.S. investors are buying those stocks, and that's helping China fund its military. Let's face it. Are you willing to go that far to remove Chinese stocks from U.S. exchanges?
Maria, I think everything's on the table. We are putting in process
they would 100% do that.
For,
by the way,
high-value security-related goods. We are talking about the export capital controls in terms of, as you said, a blacklist of things that U.S. Whether pension funds, endowments, investors should not be investing in to fund the Chinese military machine. So, but that'll be President Trump's decision.
So what do you think about that, Kevin? I'm so glad you brought up the confirmation of Paul Atkins. That is a key point. I agree with you.
Well, here's my challenge to the administration. I'm an investor. I take companies public on NASDAQ and New York Stock Exchange. I pay millions of dollars each year in compliance. I have no choice but to be compliant and transparent and abide by GAAP. And right beside me, issuing shares without any guidance at all, are Chinese companies. I'm competing.
I don't see how somebody can look at that and see that it's not rigged. I don't. I feel like that's so obviously fucking rigged. Really? It's not fair. Yeah, it's the same thing I said about the hiring illegal immigrants. If you have a company that's hiring illegal immigrants and a company that's not, all other things equal, the company that's hiring the illegals is going to be able to sell at a lower price and make more money than you. That's not fair. Yeah, it's bad faith arguments. It's obviously rigged and bullshit. Yeah, of course. Rigged or designed? Probably a little bit of both. Let's be honest.
For that dollar. I'm investing in our markets and being compliant, and my Chinese competitor, same bank I'm using, is going to institutions the same day on a roadshow and raising money for what's called a shadow share. It's not even a real share. They don't even have any rights. And they're taking my dollar. They're taking my dollar. So I'm putting up my hand saying, wait a minute, just follow the law. Delist these companies. Make them be compliant like I am.
Yeah, I don't think this is that unreasonable. Am I crazy for thinking this? That it's not that unreasonable to want them to come to the table a little bit and make sure that we can come to have an agreement on this. This isn't insane. I mean, I'm not asking that they give up everything and they have to give us all their money or anything. This isn't anything that's crazy. Just play by the fucking rules.
I speak on behalf of every American investor. Enough is enough. And I don't know why this is going on. I'm only asking the new chair, uphold the law. Just uphold the law. That's it.
I know why it's going on. I know why it's going on. It's going on because Wall Street firms make money on it. Okay? That's why it's going on. Because they want to make money selling these stocks to the public. And they want to make money raising money for Chinese companies. What else?
I think that's definitely it. And I think there's a lot of messaging. This is, I feel like the fact that a lot of, there's like a lot of Democrats that are like falling off on the same side as China. I think that like you always have like the traditional everyday, you know, like America bad, like rhetoric, right? There's definitely that. But there's also another really big component of it is that I think that the Democratic Party has been completely taken over by large interests and like large money interests. And like the party works in the best interest of these massive companies under the, you know, illusion of it working for minorities or underrepresented groups or developing countries. But the fact is that these companies are playing these people for fools and making them think that they're voting for like helping this country, but what they're really voting for is new forms of slave labor and new ways for these companies to increase their profits. That's what I think has happened, and I think that they've completely infiltrated and they've turned a lot of these economic policies that are actually detrimental to Americans into these like weird ethnic like social issues that has convinced people to vote against their best interests. Now, I think that's what's happened. And it's been happening, I think, for 15 years.
Civilian structure
What else is going on? That's how it's going on Wall Street.
Listen, I appreciate that, Maria, and I use those banks, and many of those people I call friends, but they can't.
Keep in mind, by the way, everybody does this. It's not like Democrats have a monopoly on this, but I think right now it's become more and more evident. And I think that also what made it extremely evident is during COVID and BLM, when every single company sided with them and every single company tried to enact unilateral like messaging that said, you know, like you have to do X, Y, and Z for COVID, like, you know, like BLM is good, like all of this stuff. They all said the exact same stuff. I think the reason why is because they're trying to take advantage of these people that are emotionally driven by causes that are sometimes good causes, but take advantage of those causes and then utilize those groups of people to vote for things that are actually financially beneficial for the companies. That's what I think's happening.
Ready for battle.
Can't do this anymore because they're going to have to also abide by the law. All of this softness, I don't know why Gensler didn't pursue this. My estimation as of this morning is somewhere between $500 to $700 billion worth of market capitalization that should be delisted, taken off the exchanges.
Wow.
And further pressure on the Chinese to come to the table.
Yeah, so Chinese Communist Party leadership want to get tough with President Trump. I wouldn't recommend it, okay? There's a lot to lose here for the Chinese leadership, a lot to lose. Meanwhile, let's talk about TikTok. The deal for TikTok to divest U.S. operations to an American company, currently on hold, China pausing the process in response to the U.S. tariffs. President Trump told reporters yesterday the deal is still on the table, though. Watch.
Where does the TikTok deal stand, given what we've seen, you know, the tariffs to China?
Moving along, but obviously I would say right now China's not exactly thrilled about signing it. We have a deal with some very good people, some very rich companies that would do a great job with it, but we're going to have to wait to see what.
I find there's also a bit of a self-report that TikTok, there was a lot of messaging about how TikTok wasn't owned by China. But if TikTok actually wasn't owned by China, why is China exercising oversight on the sale of TikTok? Isn't that interesting? Because if it's actually in Singapore and it's not related to the Chinese government, why is China involved in this at all? It's a PSYOP weapon? Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm sorry, but like, I mean, I see this and what the fuck?
Yes, Commander.
Only an idiot thinks that. China owns all their companies. Isn't the U.S. doing the same? Is the U.S. doing the same? I don't know what you mean by that.
What's going to happen with China? So.
Mr. President, still on the table?
No, it's on the table very much. I think China's going to want to do it, actually.
So, Kevin, the CCP is going to use whatever it can to push back on tariffs.
Well, there's further definition on the TikTok deal. And for some of us that were in the syndicates that were looking at buying and renting or leasing the algorithm and keeping TikTok the way it is past the 75 days, those hopes have been dashed. That was done yesterday when Senator Cotton, along with Scott, said, look, and he went public. I was attending a working lunch of senators 2 days ago in Washington, same day of the hearings on China. And the question came up. It was just an informal session, and Senator Cotton got up and said, no, I'm not going to allow any American company to do business with the Communist Party of China, and they are not getting anywhere near that algorithm into an American platform. So the idea that
this is the thing, is like, I feel like it can escalate in so many other ways that are like pretty fucking extreme. Yeah, I do. I think it's going to go crazy.
Can buy TikTok now and somehow have some arrangement around the algorithm, that's dead. And that's just not going to happen because you're going to get such pushback from the lawmakers and also the Supreme Court with the 9-0 order. So that path has been shut off, and now we're going to have to figure out how do we buy this thing, and we'll probably have to rewrite the entire algorithm, which, by the way, is not that hard anymore. But that, you know, Senator Cotton, he went public with that 3 hours later. It's out there now. He said the same thing publicly. He's not a fan of the Chinese algorithm. No. He considers it weapons-grade spyware, and he's made it known
that's not the algorithm. That's a totally different thing. I mean, the algorithm is what tells you what videos to watch. The spyware is like their control and like permissions in the phone. I feel like these are kind of two different things.
He knows China better than most, so he knows exactly what their tactics are. Kevin, it's great to see you. And by the way, if you want to know more about all those Chinese stocks trading on U.S. exchanges, I did a whole deep dive in it in our special on Fox Nation, Underwriting the Enemy. It is streaming now. Check it out. Underwriting the Enemy Season 2 is up at Fox Nation, streaming now. Stay with us. Kevin, good to see you. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm going to be honest, like, you must understand how the algorithm affects propaganda delivery and narrative manipulation. I don't like the idea that the algorithm is a problem because I think that the implication of that is that people can't think for themselves. So, like, I understand, like, yeah, the algorithm is bad and, like, everything, but I think the question you really should be asking yourself is that why is it that a lot of young people here in the U.S., most of them can't? People can't think? Well, what isn't that really the problem, though, right? I mean, because if you're so afraid, this is the problem, is that if you're so afraid of messaging that makes your country look bad, that you have to censor it and remove it systematically, I don't think that that's that much different than what China and Russia do with censorship as well, because you're effectively doing the exact same thing, and I don't like that. I don't like the direction of that. I don't like the implications of that. I'm very much not a fan of that at all. So when I see this happen and people are talking about, oh yeah, well, you know, we need to change these algorithms, you shouldn't be able to have these algorithms, I think that the real question is that why is this messaging so powerful, and why is it convincing people to go against maybe their own best interests, but at least against their country, right? Why is the reason? And I think you figure that out, and that's the real problem, not the TikTok algorithm. So the algorithm propaganda any different than grooming? Is the algorithm propaganda any different than grooming? Yeah, it's very different than grooming. Grooming's done on a personal level to a child, and it's like for a sexual thing, right? It's completely different. Yeah, it's like under that logic, you would say that school is grooming. And so I think that like when you paint with such a broad brush, not only do you devalue the evil act that is, but at the same time, you also make it impossible to identify what the bad actors are. And I think it's just people that are weaponizing the emotional weight of a word in order to negatively affect somebody, right? School is grooming? Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of like, that's the way that I see it. And, you know, I'm hoping that, you know, that's what happens, right? And, yeah, since no one knows the algorithm, it probably uses advanced AI. Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, all kinds of algorithms and everything uses AI now. I mean, I don't really think is it really that big of a surprise? I think that's how it is all the time now.
upgrade logistics to unlock more civilian.
Trump got rid of the Department of Education.
Thank you very much, Evan.
I'm gonna change the audio a little bit. It's fucked up.
And I'd like to start by saying that
Start making your dinner plans.
things are, as you can see, doing quite well. Please sit down. Before we begin, I just want to announce that I signed a proclamation a few moments ago honoring the 250th anniversary of Patrick Henry's famous speech to the Second Virginia Convention, in which he declared very well-known, very famous words, "Give me liberty or give me death." Has anyone heard the phrase? I think most of you have.
Yeah.
And moments ago, I also signed an executive order to dramatically increase production of critical minerals and rare earths. It's a big thing in this country, and as you know, we're also signing agreements in various locations to unlock rare earths and minerals and lots of other things all over the world, but in particular Ukraine. We're doing very well with regard to Ukraine and Russia. And one of the things we are doing is signing a deal very shortly with respect to rare earths with Ukraine, which they have tremendous value in rare earth, and we appreciate that. And we spoke yesterday with, as you know, President Putin and President Zelensky, and we would love to see that come to an end, and I think we're doing pretty well in that regard. So hopefully we can save thousands of people a week from dying. That's what it's all about. They're dying so unnecessarily, and I believe we'll get it done. We'll see what happens, but I believe we'll get it done. Today we take a very historic action that was 45 years in the making. In a few moments, I will sign an executive order to begin eliminating the Federal Department of Education.
I'm going to be honest.
Civilian structure complete.
This is the same country that people didn't buy the A&W third pounder because they thought it was smaller than the quarter pounder. I really can't see that we need a Department of like if we had a Department of Education, it wasn't working. Now, in my opinion, I think they probably should have revamped it and made it better. I don't think the solution is just get rid of it. But let's be honest, boys. We just got done talking about people buying pizza on credit. You're buying DoorDash on credit. You're financing DoorDash. This shit wasn't working. It wasn't. Like, it just wasn't working.
Once and for all.
Yeah. About admin and paper people. We're wasting our money.
And it sounds strange, doesn't it? Department of Education, we're going to eliminate it. And everybody knows it's right. And the Democrats know it's right. And I hope they're going to be voting for it because ultimately it may come before them. But everybody knows it's right. And we have to get our children educated. We're not doing well with the world of education.
He's saying that the kids are fucking retarded. And he's right. Kids are retarded nowadays, and they're so stupid. They don't know math. They can't write English. You know, I wonder what is the average age nowadays that kids can write their own name? What is it, like probably like 8, 9, something like that? I wouldn't be surprised. 21? Yeah, this is bad. They can't read anymore. They don't do. It's just like basically kids nowadays are. This is how bad it is. Young kids going into pre-K and kindergarten can't go upstairs because they don't spend any time moving around. They're just addicted to a CoComelon tablet all day. And so they haven't built up the muscles in their body in order to go upstairs. This is bad.
Commerce upgrade complete.
We're speedrunning Wally.
Civilian structure complete.
In this country, and we haven't for a long time. And we're pleased to be joined today by the woman who I chose because she's an extraordinary person. and hopefully she will be our last Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon. Linda.
She's the executioner.
Thank you very much. That's another interesting statement. It's an interesting opening, right? But it's true, and people, it's been amazing how popular this has been.
I mean, WWE, yeah. I mean, fuck. I mean, here's the thing: is that isn't it better that we're getting somebody that like maybe worked in private industry? Like the WWE does pretty well, right? Like, I mean, I'd rather have somebody that worked at a company that functioned correctly than another governmental person.
People that this is what I'm doing today.
Not for fucking education? No. I have completely given up on the idea of experts. I have. I think it's all bullshit. I think that these people, they just act like they know what they're talking about. They don't actually know what they're talking about at all. They might, there's plenty of people. How many people do you guys know? You went to college with them. They got a degree, but they're stupid. They don't know what they're doing. Like, getting a 61 in a class, C's and D's get degrees.
Civilian structure complete.
There's a lot of dumb people that have college degrees and credibility that don't need to have it. I've worked corporate for 20 years. Everywhere I go, nobody knows what they're doing. It's all bullshit. Yeah. No, I've noticed this. I have. Have you ever gone, like, at the government, it was like this. Like, there was like 200 people in the building. There were like 12 people that were operating at efficiency. Everybody else was on their phone, talking, stupid. They can't read the paperwork. They need to have it re-explained to them for the 5th time. They've been here 2 years. Like, oh my God. It's so bad. Yes. And I tell people, if you want to be a good worker and if you want your boss to like you, show up to work and do your job. You will blow the majority of the competition out of the fucking water. They can't compete with that level of behavior.
This won't take long.
That's it. All you got to do. No raises, that's why? No, I don't know. Well, the bar is really low. That's private companies also. I know. What I'm saying is I've totally given up on the idea of experts. No.
That's more like it.
They say, oh, it's about time. Everybody says it. Republicans and Democrats have said it. They're all saying it. Also with us are some terrific people. Governors Greg Abbott. Greg, thank you very much. Governor Ron DeSantis, thank you very much, Ron. Mike Braun, congratulations on your victory, Mike. That was a big one. Mike DeWine, thank you very much, Mike. Jeff Landry.
Yep.
Jeff, thank you very much, Jeff. Bill Lee.
Yeah, this is
governors,
it.
All
this is
governors.
it.
Brad Little. Brad, thank you very much. Where are you, Brad? Hi, Brad.
Yep.
Jim Pylan. Thank you very much, Jim.
There it is.
And Kim Reynolds. These are all people very interested in education. Yep. And I even see Dan Patrick over there, my friend Dan Patrick. We're joined also by Representatives Tim Walberg.
This is wild to me. You'd say something like that while using a computer and streaming on Twitch is really something. Well, like whenever I worked at the IRS, I just immediately came in. I picked up on the job. I figured out what I needed to do, and I did it correctly. And then whenever I wanted to get started streaming, I went into it. I looked at the people that were successful. I was able to distill that down into something that worked, and I had 250 viewers on my first stream. Whenever I wanted to get into making YouTube videos, I looked at the YouTube videos that worked properly, and then I evaluated and then dissected down what the primary criteria are that make you successful, and then I did that. When I wanted to make a website and set that up, I just simply self-taught myself how to make a website, and then I set it up. When I was 12 years old and 11 years old, I wanted to learn to animate things, so I got a program for animation, and then I got a book from Barnes & Noble, and then I read it, and then I learned how to animate. That's it. Like, there's no fucking, like, divine ordained, like, knowledge here. And this isn't because I'm some kind of, like, massively smart guy. I don't think I'm even, like, really above average intelligence even. I just simply look at, okay, I want to do this thing. What did other people do that did this thing do? Okay, I'm going to do that.
Ready for battle.
Duh.
Civilian structure complete.
It's so easy. It's so fucking easy. It's involved with multiple successful companies starting up, still successful. No, yeah, it's fucking simple. You have to, but it's not simple. It is and it's not. Doing it is hard and it's complex, but the actual actions are in times simple. You just simply put in effort.
Good day,
Most people
Commander.
do not put in effort.
Civilian structure complete.
They're fucking
Targets in
lazy.
sight. Let's take them out.
They're massively fucking lazy. Knowledge is an equal end result. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are stupid and they can't apply the information that they understand. I noticed this in school. There were people that they would learn shit and then they just don't know how to actually apply it to anything.
Civilian structure complete.
And Virginia
They're
Fox,
financing DoorDash.
Rick Allen, Michael Rulli, and again, Dan Patrick. Thank you very much, Dan. You've been a great friend of ours. And State Attorneys General Ken Paxton. Ken, I see you there. Andrew Bailey.
He's caused
Andrew,
a bunch of problems
what a
for
job
us.
you've
He's from
done,
Texas.
Andrew. You have some good cases going. You've done a great job. Thank you very much. And co-founder of Moms for Liberty, Tiffany Justice. She's been a hard worker. Thank you. Thank you, Tiffany. When President Carter created the Federal Education Department in 1979, it was opposed by members of his own cabinet, as well as the American Federation of Teachers, the New York Times editorial board, and the famed Democrat Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan. History has proven them right, absolutely right.
Kids are
After
stupid.
45 years, the United States spends more money on education by far than any other country.
Where's the money going? Where's it going?
And spends likewise by far more money per pupil than any country, and it's not even close. But yet we rank near the bottom of the list in terms of success. It's an amazing stat. Those are two stats you don't
Not to
want.
the
The most
school,
money
not to
spent
the
per pupil,
teachers.
and you're
Not
at the
for
bottom of the
supplies.
list. And that's where we are.
It's like y'all ever in high school, you ever get a book and then you look at it's a history book and it says turning towards the future at the end of the history book and it's about Bill Clinton taking office, and then you look at who the book was checked out to and like it says 77 to 79 on the top of it.
Exotic resources have been located.
Like,
by
we
our
don't need
survey
that.
teams. Exotic resources have been located by our
Yeah,
survey
we don't
teams.
fucking need that. Like this is your grandpa's history book. It's like people. This is before the teacher even was born.
Or not, and we've been there for a long time. 70% of 8th graders are not proficient in either reading.
Hold up.
We're at the bottom of the list, and that's where we are, like it or not, and we've been there for a long time. 70% of 8th graders are not proficient in either reading or in math. 70%
of 8th graders are retarded.
Exotic resources have been located by our survey teams.
Do you think that just magically by the time they turned 18, they're going to unretarded themselves? I don't think they will. I think the only thing they're going to do at 18 is vote. And finance DoorDash.
Civilian structure complete.
By the way, I wasn't kidding. I actually think that they should have a test for you to understand basic finance to take on any type of debt. You should have to pass a test.
40% of 4th graders lack even basic reading skills, can't read.
Wait, what?
40% of 4th graders lack even...
4th grade, that's 9 to 10 years old.
That's more like it.
9 to 10 years old, they can't read.
Active. Yes, Commander, at once.
In basic reading skills, can't read. Students in our public elementary and middle schools score worse in reading today than when the department opened by a lot.
Fact check it though? No, I believe it immediately.
Civilian
No, I
structure
believe it.
complete.
Baltimore, 40% of the high schools have 0 students who can do basic mathematics.
You shouldn't. No. See, you guys act like guys. You don't understand how bad it is.
Not even the very simplest of maths who can do basic mathematics. In Baltimore, 40% of the high schools have 0 students who can do basic mathematics.
Plotting jump coordinates.
It said no child left behind. How about no child left ahead? Now, that's the kind of shit I wouldn't immediately believe. That's insane. Oh, my God.
More 40% of the high schools have 0 students who can do basic mathematics. Not even the very simplest of mathematics. I said, give me your definition of basic. And they're talking about like adding a few numbers together. Despite these breathtaking failures, the department's discretionary budget has exploded by...
How do you think this happened? I'll tell you how it happened. It happened because you criminally underpay teachers, and then you have a bureaucracy of teachers that are basically Karens that are stupid. That's why they have a job as being a teacher, is because in a lot of these different fields that teachers would go into, you have teaching in public schools is one of the worst possible things. Because you have a fucking, the amount of money that they get paid is criminal. They have to pay for their own supplies. They're on the job 24/7. They have to have apps to keep up with the parents of these stupid kids. So, like, why doesn't my kid know how to do multiplication and they're 15? Oh, I don't know, Bill. Maybe because your kid's a fucking retard. Maybe it's not my fault that at 15 years old, he can't multiply 4 times 4. Okay, maybe I didn't do this. Maybe you should have thought about this a little bit more. And so anyway, you've got the teachers. And so, like, why would you go and be a teacher if you have a degree in chemistry or you're in any way, shape, or form educated in this? So the only people that you have for teachers are, you have 2 groups, and they're the most diametrically opposed groups. You have losers that couldn't get any better job, and you have winners that want to be teachers and they love being a teacher and they are in it for the love of the game. And those are your legends, and those people need to be paid twice as much fucking money. And then you need to get the other half of people out of the fucking job by offering twice as much money, so you have the people that are more qualified that can beat them out in the job listings, and then you can have better teachers. That's the way you solve it. That's what I think the problem is. So you've got a bunch of fucking retard, you've got shitty teachers, you've got stupid teachers teaching stupid kids, they hate their fucking job, and I don't blame them, they're right. You have mountains of bureaucracy, you have all of these different ways that parents blame everything on the kid nowadays, and the teacher's supposed to be held accountable. Like, if your kid doesn't know math, and every problem is not the teacher's fault, okay? There's some stupid kids. That's the reason why. That's it. And so that, yeah, where's the money going? Where is it going? I don't know. Where'd it go? There's $1 billion. You know, like, I wonder. That's it. It's a big problem, man. It's a huge problem.
600% in a very short period.
How do you have billions of dollars going into this, but you have teachers that have to buy markers out of their own fucking paycheck? I'll tell you how. It's run by a bunch of fucking idiots.
Of time and employees,
what are you talking about?
Bureaucrats in buildings all over Washington, D.C. And as a former...
Everybody always likes to abstract this. Like, I'm sorry I've been pausing so much about this video. I have so much to say about this. Everybody, oh, well, it's this complex. No, it's not. No, it's not. Stop it. It's not complex. It's run by idiots. It's run by idiots who don't know what the fuck they're doing, and they're wasting everybody's money. That's it. How would you know? Because everything else in my life that I've ever seen run by any group of people is always being run by idiots, especially in the government. Because most people are idiots.
Exotic resources have been located by our survey team.
And also, based off of the outcome. If you get this much money and you don't have a good outcome, you're an idiot. Or you're corrupt. One or the other. Pick your poison.
Real estate person, I will tell you, I ride through the streets of Washington and it says Department of Education, Department of Education. I said, how do you fill those buildings? It's crazy what's happened over the years.
What are they doing?
I'm pleased to report that after offering these federal employees 2 generous buyout options, and they were very generous, and they're good people, but they were very generous. My administration has initiated a reduction in force, and we're already cutting numbers that were really surprising to a lot that we were able to do it so successfully. And we've cut the number of bureaucrats in half. 50% have taken office, which is great.
Remember when Elon Musk bought Twitter and he fired 80% of the staff and then nothing changed? You remember when Meta did the same thing? They fired a bunch of their people, like 10,000 people, nothing changed? Huh.
Fire at will. Good day, Commander. I'll make this
That's
short
crazy.
and sweet.
Come on.
Thank you. Under the action I am taking today, a small handful of Democrats and others that we have employed for a long time, and there are some Republicans, but not too many, I have to be honest with you. But the department
says bad things are going to happen because of this. Bad things are already happening. Kids can't read, they can't do math. So the solution is like, oh, well, let's not change anything. Why would we not change anything? Yeah, it's already fucked. If it's going to be fucked, I might as well not pay for it.
useful functions, and such as in